Wendy, if I get it correctly, you are now coming out of the closet with your spiritual experience. Would I be correct in that?
In a way, you'd be very correct, yes.
Okay. But let's talk about coming out of the closet.
Okay.
That's a phrase you mentioned to me before we started recording here. Um, and and what that means is, and correct me if I'm wrong, that these experiences, these spiritual experiences we have, are so out of the ordinary, so beyond everybody's belief system, that just trying to discuss it with somebody else, I mean, it's a little dangerous, because they think you've fallen out of your tree.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So so there's a little courage now. You're going to talk about this, okay?
A
But
lot of big courage, yeah.
yeah. Well, tell me about some of the experiences when you've tried to tell to somebody else, why you've got shot down or whatever the case may be. What happened? Why are you hesitant about coming out of the closet?
In a way, it's a little scary just because of the fact that I think what happens is when you talk to other people, they kind of look at you like, uh-huh, right, yeah. Or, like you're just a little off, or
I've been there, my dear.
you're just not quite together, and the fact that my experience seemed unusual from the standpoint that it happened at a Paul McCartney concert, which made it even weirder from the standpoint of telling anyone, because you want to write it off as the fact that you're just kind of a whacked out crazy fan anyway. I mean, that's the whole thing. Beatlemania was just mania. It was crazy. It was people going nuts. So to say that you had a spiritual, quote unquote, experience at a Paul McCartney concert is like, are you kidding me? Really? Yeah, right. So,
Well, are they not also assuming you're on drugs or something at the same time?
well, I never thought of that, but probably. I mean, not the people I know, but anybody in general might assume that.
Yeah.
Um, so, it's one of those things that was just not just always kind of protected the experience, because I think that whenever you have a profound experience like this, you don't want to be vulnerable and throw it out to the world for them to beat it up. It's one of those things that you feel really strongly about protecting, because it's kind of a really sacred experience to you, and you don't want the world to take it and rip it apart.
And I think, Wendy, we have to, in a way, understand where the folks are coming from. They don't have, in their belief system, there's nothing to attach this to. It's
Right.
coming from way out of left field. It sounds like a hallucination, maybe. I mean, they can put all kinds of reasons behind it that fit within their belief systems, but none of them match up to the experience you've really had. And
Right.
and so they're doing the best they can in a way, but they're trying to protect themselves because they don't really want to buy into this stuff. That's not everybody, but some do that. So we have to just have an understanding, I think, of what's going on, and we're trying to open these doors for lots of people. So I
Yeah.
I admire your courage. So why don't you tell us about your experience?
Okay, well, this was an experience I had way back in 1990. And a friend of mine and I were big. I didn't meet her till way after the Beatles had come and gone. But when we met each other, we had that in common, and we were really big Beatle fans. We both liked Paul McCartney. So we had decided to go to a concert together. So we ended up right in front of the stage, right under Paul, in the very spot that there were 60,000 people. We had the best spot. We were up against the stage like this.
Yeah.
So we were pretty excited anyway, which would have been great. That was a great experience. But what happened during the concert, we can't really explain, and both of us actually had this experience. It was just like there was a point in time where all of a sudden everything slowed down. Everything seemed to just turn into like slow motion. It's like, it's just like there was a lot of slow motion stuff going on. And we were like right below Paul, singing eye to eye with him. And we just felt this huge connection. And it was like, well, my friend described it later as like the three of us seeing a little star together. And it was just this sort of synergistic connection that we made with Paul and the music and the whole thing. And it was just like whoosh. And he actually looked down and winked at my friend in the process of this happening. I kind of am pretty sure that this isn't a new experience for him. I think this is something that happens a lot, the whole music and transformation and watching the people go through that. And so we left the concert and we were like, wow, that was really great. But there was something about the whole thing that was just bigger than Paul. We knew it immediately was bigger. Mm-hmm. It was just this sense of like, wow, okay, life's changed now. Because we had that whole feeling of the connection to everything, that oneness of being connected to this bigger thing out there. And just that complete sense of unconditional love. And
so,
and
go ahead.
I mean, that's it. It doesn't sound like a big deal, really, but...
Well, let me get behind that, if I can, and understand it well. So you've got these front row seats, and there's Paul doing his thing, but it
the book is all about the whole idea of having peak experiences and spiritual experiences and being very much in the present moment for that to happen.
Well, reason I even asked that is in the experience that I had. I don't remember the term now so much, but in that experience, there was no such thing as time.
Exactly.
There was no past. There was no future. There was only now.
Oh.
Very hard to describe to somebody what now means, because we're so ingrained in the past. We're so ingrained in time being this linear thing that goes on and on and on. It's such a strange concept to just, like, in a way, freeze time. But in another way, in that experience, time just does not exist. It's like it's made up or manufactured in this current state that we're in now, the state, I call it, within our senses, you know.
Right.
Give me your thoughts on that.
You're totally right. And I've spent years reading all kinds of stuff. I mean, every kind of spiritual, book out there and all these different philosophies. And it shows up in almost all of them, the whole experience of timelessness and being in the moment and present and that sense of time just disappearing.
Okay. Let me explore something further with you.
Okay.
In my experience, this is talking about mine now, but I want to compare it with yours.
Okay.
In my experience, that was so real to me. It was more real than this experience we're having here, even though this experience here is convincingly real. Our senses really show us that this is, reality, etc. But that experience was vastly, to me, even more real. Would you agree with that? Same reality, different reality? How did it work out for you?
It's really hard in hindsight, but because of everything I've written since then, and I wrote that little Bluebird song, which was a metaphor story about going to another world, which is more real than the one you're in. And then, of course, I've had a lot of Course in Miracles training since then, so where I really realized what that means. But it was like very surreal, but that was really what was real.
What our senses are telling us. This other thing is sort of out there, someplace. But
Yeah.
what I want to go a step further, if I can. If in that state, there's only now, there is no time. Okay. How could you ever have something like death? Because death requires time. You are born at a certain time. Time goes by, you die. You have to have time for birth and death. Now, I've never said that to anybody. I'm just wondering how that lands with you. Is death possible in that state?
No. I mean, it's only possible to the ego, obviously. So I think that the what was I going to say? I don't know. I was going to say something profound.
Oh,
Sure.
listen. Profound things always happen after we hang up. I listen. Can't tell you how many times I've been there. Okay.
But I think that what I think and in what I relate this to in my work and what I do now is the fact that I